that I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students and teachers from Starehe Boys Center, Nairobi County. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them fruitful visit. I thank you. Okay, Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Orders 231, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Senator Cheriot Aaron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this petition by Senator Mary Seneta, who I want to congratulate for, despite being a nominated senator from Kajiado, truth be told, if there's someone who has spoken many times about the issues affecting the residents of Kajiado County, then it is Senator Mary Seneta. I think it's a good pointer that when you're nominated, you can do even more than I know the senator for Nakuru, our majority whip, has just declared war on me for saying those words. But truth be said, it has to be said so, that Mary Seneta does a very impressive job. Of course, I work collaboratively well with Senator, my good friend, whose name has disappeared from my mind, Senator Mpaye. Yes, I remember him very well. And they work together very well. Therefore, the point that I wanted to mention.
You cannot remember somebody whom you have forgotten. The name.
I have facial, I have facial remembrance. I had forgotten his name had disappeared for a minute, but of course I know him very well, and they are a good tag team for the residents of Kajiado County. The issues that have been raised in this petition, Mr. Speaker, are matters that many of our regional water bodies continue to face. Last week, in the county that I represent here, the only two water service bodies were merged. And I remember, Mr. Speaker, that when we did the water laws here, we did set in one of the recommendations before WASREB can allow the merging of any water bodies or the separation, there must be proper public participation. And public participation cannot be done, for example, without the proper involvement of the representatives of the people. And I wrote to WASREB and requested them to furnish me with minutes of the meeting where they purportedly did the public participation and they were allowed to merge water bodies. Because I know each water body was formed to address very specific needs of particular residents. And by merging them, sometimes you disenfranchise certain sections of the population. Therefore, the issues that have been raised in this petition is just one of the many ways with which residents of many counties are losing, but when county governments decide either to merge or to separate water services board. Therefore, I want to request, Mr. Speaker, that the committee that you will commit this petition to does a proper job of keenly looking into the issues that have been raised and remembering that as a Senate, we are a quasi-judicial institution. When we give orders, they are properly respected and they can save the residents of this country from suffering any injustice that is being meted on them. Mr. Speaker, earlier on this week, we had a meeting with members of the Energy Committee, and the chairman of Kenya Pipeline Board came before us and thanked the Senate because I remember towards the tail end of last Parliament, there's this issue of the Line 5 pipeline that is being constructed from Mombasa all the way to Kisumu. And there were challenges with issues of a variation where the contractor had raised an additional figure of 10 billion Kenya shillings. And the institution was going to pay were it not for the intervention of the then Committee of Energy. And they thanked us because up to date, because of the orders that we gave in that committee, taxpayers did not lose even a single shilling. Therefore, I say that to say to the committee that will get to handle this particular petition, that you can save the residents of Kajiado, those who feel that they've been affected, the employees of non-Turesh Loitoktok Water and Sanitation Company can find proper reprieve in this house if they get their prayers acceded to. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I urge that we keenly look into these particular matters that are being canvassed with a view to having those employees properly remunerated and paid well for the services that they have rendered. Therefore, with those very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Ledama Olekina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support the petition by my good friend, Senator Mary Seneta, and really congratulate her for the good work that she's been doing in terms of defending the rights of the people of Kajiado. Mr. Speaker, sir, just recently, Senator Seneta brought in an issue also that had to do with the farmers of Kajiado. Today, we're dealing with something, Mr. Speaker, sir, which has been in the news for quite some time, and particularly on the issue of the mistreatment of the workers of the Nolturesh. Mr. Speaker, sir, this House knows very clearly, or rather, the Kenyans should know that this issue of Nolturesh is something which cuts across 3 counties, Kajiado, Makueni, and I think Machakos County. And I remember very well, I think it was October 15th, when the 3 governors met to discuss on the issues that is affecting the people. I remember also, quite a while ago, I think around June, sometimes in June, the ex or the former managing director of that company had been accused of misappropriating about 60 million shillings. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is time that we now move expeditiously to ensure that the people who worked there are paid their benefits. Mr. Speaker, sir, all these things that we are doing, ignoring the rule of law. The Constitution is very clear that it doesn't matter whether you are in office today, if you leave office, you will still be held accountable. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to really request that the committee which will be dealing with this issue of this petition to ensure that as part of the recommendations is to have the office of the DPP follow through the former MD to ensure that if there are any funds which are misappropriated, that led to the people not to be paid their salaries, or that led to the Kenya Revenue Authority not receiving the dues, that those people should be held accountable. Mr. Speaker, sir, I know that the governor of Kajiado appointed the former MD of Kenya what is it? This airline, KQ, to be the head of this Nolturesh. So I support that, Mr. Naikuni is a very, very good guy. He's a person who has worked well. I mean, a lot of people would say maybe there are issues, but I think he can be able to tackle this matter. So as one of the people who the committee should be able to invite here is Mr. Titus Naikuni to be able to understand what steps has he